So part two of the video, had to cut it short, is we're now on the Renfrew Creamery Kings with LHX. I deem him as NHL comparable would be the Boston Bruins. Same core. He's got Leclerc. He's got Straka. He's got Shane Corson that have been around. He's got Ulanov, Zalewski. He's got the core like Boston normally carries around. But he's looking for that constant. He's looking for that constant that he has. He's got his Leclerc and Straka would be like his Pasternak and Marchand. He's got his McCauley, Charlie McAvey would be his Zarley Zalapski. But with having his goaltender retire, he had to make a change. With this Tuukka Rask, now he's got Jeremy Swayman, which is a younger goaltender, which like Ed Belfour was his Tuukka Rask. Now he's traded over to Richfield. But then we move over to Richfield. Richfield's team would be a comparable to the Edmonton Oilers. The Edmonton Oilers, all-world talents. He's got Lemieux, he's got Danfus, he's got Yashin, he's got Bertuzzi, he's got comparable to McDavid, Drysdale, Kane. What's another one that he played really well this year? Not Bozak, but he came from Toronto. And then Zach Hyman. Then the big Achilles heel, you got like Alexei Zitnik as well as his Darnell Nurse. And his big Nostradamus scripture reading is that he finally found out that his goaltending was his Achilles heel. Like Edmonton, figure it out. Mike Smith is not your issue. Change it. Richfield at least went out and changed that and went and got Ed Belfour, which is going to help him hopefully from being downbeat by the diggity dog Seguin. The next team we move over to is the Rome Auroras with Salvatonic. Seattle is his comparable. He's got some good pieces to start off with. He's got Teppo Numminen for a couple more good years. He's got Travis Green and Greg Johnson. They're going to be nice pieces to build around. John Van Briesbroek for a couple seasons. And we'll see how he transforms his team from there. Saguenay Aviators with G-Lock. His NHL comparable would be the Vancouver Canucks. A young transitioning team looking for that star power. He's already got it in Brock Besser. They got it in Elias Pettersson. They got some decent goaltending and some strong defense. I forget who the good defenseman is in Vancouver. It's like my mind is completely absent of what the rosters look like now. I'm thinking of creating the mod. But adding Pavel Bure is adding that spark plug that he needs. Now he's got so much speed to work around. And he's got his Besser. He's got his Elias Pettersson. He's got his JT Miller now. So he's got those top three dogs he can run with. And then he's got Ron Francis coming in that's going to help him as well. So he's got the pieces. He just needs maybe one more defenseman with some talent. And then he's going to be in a great position for the next 4 or 5 seasons to really make a push for the playoffs. Like Vancouver is, right on the cusp of making those playoffs. Then we move over to the Saskatchewan Scam Squanches. There, give her there, bud. It's the way of the road. It's the way of the road. The Saskatchewan Sam Squanches remind me of the Montreal Canadiens this past season. It's not that they're as bad as Montreal was. It's the fact that they have this huge core that they've had around for a while and decided to blow it up. Montreal's doing the same thing. Got rid of Shea Weber's contract for Evgeny Dandanov. They're going to look to get rid of Jeff Petrie. They traded Arturi Lehkonen. They traded Ben Sherratt. They traded Tyler Toffoli. Picked up draft picks in the process. They're looking to maybe add some star power. Like maybe Carey Price might be gone, but Chris Osgood's at least a stopgap for him for the moment. Adam Oates, you got your Cole Caulfield, you got your Nick Suzuki, which he adds in with kind of a Saku Koivu, Kolovenko. He's got like 4 or 5 strong forwards, which is really good for them. And then you add Paul Coffey in there, which replaces his Chris Pronger, but he only gets him for 3 years. But like Montreal only has one real defenseman. They got Joel Edmondson. But even at that, they got some young prospects coming in that are going to help them down the line. The Sonoma Valley Barrels with Nui Husky. His comparable team would be New Jersey. He's got the young studs. Eric Daze is his Nico Hischier. He's got some decent goaltending in place now for this upcoming season. He's got Keith Primo. The only weakness I would say Nui has right now is probably on defense, but over the next couple of seasons with Frederick Olofsson and Alexander Karpartsov, he can make a push. And I think Nui, with his first season in the bag, he was a little underwhelming, but he'll put it together. And everybody thought the same thing as New Jersey. They need to come together. They need to figure something out and build up from there. Probably dump PK Subban's contract would be a huge help. I wish the NHL was like the NFL. You could restructure that contract to kind of reduce the cap hit. But I guess there's something regarding the NHLPA that's not allowed. Sudbury, which was the Milwaukee Pucks, but we got the Sudbury Saturday Night Lives. Would be the New York Rangers. The only reason why I put the New York Rangers, the Sudbury was a hard team to pinpoint. If he had his season team from last year with the Sudbury Slag, it would be a little bit easier to point them to an actual NHL team. But the Rangers, they have the star power. They got Panarin, they got Zibanejad, they got Lafreniere, they got Adam Fox, they got Shesterkin. They got all the pieces there, but the thing is, the reason why is that not many people knew about the Rangers all that much. They saw them as a good team, but nothing really special. More of a hodgepodge, a lot of question marks. You had a few good players, but you had Greg Adams, you got Brian Bradley, you add Cliff Round into the mix now. Maybe after this offseason, we might be able to see Sudbury a little bit more developed than what they're going to be. But I would say the New York Rangers. Sudbury is such a difficult, Milwaukee, we'll keep it as Milwaukee at the moment, are such a hard team to play against. But when you finally do play them, you're like, you know what, there's flaws in their game, but masking it with some shitty players is only temporary. Once you get some more pieces in there, he's going to be very, very difficult to beat. The next team we move into, the Sugar Valley Firebirds with Einstein. I'd say the Chicago Blackhawks. Your Alexander Mogilny is your Patrick Kane. Then you add your Thomas Holmstrom and Doug Weight, Jeff Courtnall, or your Tays, your DeBrincat. Your defense is a little bit shaky, and you have suspect goaltending like Chicago does. Corey Crawford retired. I don't really even know who Chicago's goaltender is. But Chicago is the team that I would say they're a team in transition. They're a team that are looking to make a move. And I think with Einstein, he needs to make a move in net. Because Bill Ranford's got one more year and Stefan Fizette's got 3, but they're no better than 65 overall. And Einstein's biggest weakness is goaltending. The next team we move into is the Sumter Trash, the Washington Redskins. I put the pink elephants with the Washington Redskins because if you look at Eric Lindros and how he dominates that team, it's the same way Ovechkin dominates the Capitals. When you talk about the Caps, you're like, oh, it's Ovechkin. That's his team. Yes, you got John Carlson on defense, which he has with Ed Jabwanowski. Then you also think about Backstrom, but injury-prone players. He doesn't really have much else other than Ovechkin. I know Washington's stacked, but they have questions in net. They have questions in their secondary scoring. TJ Oshie's great, but Lars Eller's not going to push you along the way as well. And Tom Wilson's another one. He's a goon. He's your Mike Greer. There you go. Sunnyvale Shithawks, the LA Kings. With McLean, I really do think that he's got a roster that's in transition. The LA Kings had Drew Doughty, but Drew Doughty's on the decline of his career, so is Gusarov. Iserman and Sakic are your Dano and your Anzes Kopitar. Your Dustin Brown would probably fall more into your Peter Sikora realm. But they're a team in transition as well because now they got some solid goaltending, which Jonathan Quick does for them. But I would say Nikolai Happy-Balloon's more at the beginning when LA won the first cup with Quick. Is that part of his career, and then he kind of transitions along the way. But yeah, Sunnyvale, I would say is the LA Kings. Surrey Hacks, I would give them the Columbus Blue Jackets, a young developing team, always on the rise. You can't really name anybody out of Columbus. If you can name some people out of Columbus, good for you. I can name Zach Werenski. They had the goaltender that passed away, but Korpisalo, I think, is their goaltender. But I don't really know the roster, but they got young talent. Bobby Holik's going to come into his own. Jeff O'Neill's going to come into his own. He's got a roster to make a move, and he's improving every year, so I got to give him credit with that. And he's got a good duo with Essence and Lalim. He might pull out a double goaltending duty this season. We move into my team, the Sydney Cyclones with Ultra Magnus, the Toronto Maple Leafs. Yes, I got my Austin Matthews with Teemu Selanne. I got my Mitch Marner with Shane Doan. Marcus Naslund, who's recently acquired, is my new Jonathan Tays. I got my Chris Pronger, who's my Morgan Riley. But I'm like the Toronto Maple Leafs. I cannot get out of the fucking first round. It's pitiful that my team does that, but it is what it is. The Taipei Typhoons. Taipei, I would compare them to the Pittsburgh Penguins. They have some great talent. Crosby's your Paul Kariya at this moment. Peter Bonger's your Malkin. Pittsburgh with Tristan Jarry, they're kind of suspect with Grant Fuhr, but that's the way it is. But they have that solid defense with Zubov and McInnes. Is your Chris Letang. I don't know of the other people that they have on defense, but I would say Taipei is like Pittsburgh. Thunder Bay, Tampa Bay Lightning. Sean Bell with that team. The only thing I can put them as is that they have the star power. It doesn't really matter who he has in net, even though Vasilevsky is his goaltender. Sean Burke, it plays like Vasilevsky with Sean Bell. Point final. There's nothing more I can say about that. But you have your Kucherov with Alfredson, you have your Sullivan with Stamkos, and you got your Sandis Ojulis, who is your Victor Hedman. And you got some key components that you can play around with as well. The Timmins team, Timmins Terragrades, Seattle. They're an expansion team. We don't know what to expect from them right now. Troy City, I would say Buffalo. A team that has gone through enough transitions, and I know Troy, with Aftershock, he talks about your mother's cunt, you cocksuckers, suck my dick, and everything else like that. But at the end of the day, his team is going to be suspect every season that he's going to play, but at least it's entertaining. Troy Hill with Ticklepuss, I would say the Winnipeg Jets. Big, heavy team, very physical, can outplay you. You got your, I forget who that big guy, Logan Stanley would be his Adam Burt, the slow piece of mud. Blake Wheeler's your Keith Kachuk. Alexander Degas your Alexander Dubois, or Pierre-Luc Dubois, my apologies. And then you got your Connor Hollaback, who's your your Jocelyn Thibault. He's got a solid team all around. He's going to be a perennial team for at least the next 4 or 5 seasons. But Winnipeg is that team that just gets in the playoffs and can't just get on a run. To Yucatuck. The Detroit Red Wings. He's a team on the rise. He's got strong goaltending. Detroit's got some goaltending in place. His Larry Murphy is his, who is it? Moritz Seider. And he's got his Steve Thomas and Steve Ruchin, which could be his Mason Raymond. And maybe his Tyler Bertuzzi. But he's going to be a team to be dangerous in the next coming seasons. But at the same time, too, the team's still on the rise. And then you got Ekiel with the Vancouver Dumpstars. I would say the Ottawa Senators, a young team with a lot of talent. A couple more seasons of seasoning, and then they're going to be right in the prime picking of their division. They might make a run with Yucatuck to be able to take over the top divisions in their divisions, not the top divisions, but move out of Tier 4 into Tier 3. They have the potential, both of them, to get into that category. So that is this week's video. I'm your host, Ultra Magnus. Play your games. I'm excited for tonight's game between Autobahn and Colin for the Autobahns and Milwaukee Half Pucked. And then we have the Segathon TB or Thunder Bay matchup, and then we're on to the Bruley. Until next week, I'm your host, Ultra Magnus. Take care.